Being found discarded outside homes, schools and libraries across the northeastern Cumbria. A BBC investigation has revealed that 2,500 syringes used for taking drugs were discovered on our streets over a 2-year period. We sent freedom of information requests to each local council to gauge the extent of the problem. Tonight on Look North, we hear from the residents who found them and the people who have to pick them up and dispose of them. Here's Jonathan Swingler.
Council worker John is sent to this spot just outside Middlesbrough town centre. It's his job to collect the needles when a call comes in.
It's basically the kids that you're more concerned about, as in young kids of 4-year-old going up over if they actually find them what did. So again, if we ever see them like that, we just pick them up straight away, put them in a needle box and close them off.
They spark fears over diseases such as tetanus, hepatitis and HIV. We put in a freedom of information request with every council in our region. Now, over a 2-year period between April 2012 and April this year, 2,500 needles were discovered. Here's a few examples. In Middlesbrough, they found 186. In Newcastle, 428. Over in Cumbria, that figure is 204. North Yorkshire, 130. And over in Darlington, 296 were found. Which is where I head to next.
There's usually needles like in the alleyway which we're in now, and majority of them is in North Lodge. We do get like where the children's park is, always scattered around.
My brother was playing out and over the road in a court there was a drug needle and it pricked him and he had to get some injections.
The research revealed they've been found near schools and one case a library toilet. Some have been found on this quiet housing estate in Darlington.
I picked two needles out. And I saw another one at the bottom what I couldn't reach because of all the thorn bushes. 3 in total, just syringes. Devastated really when the kids are, I've got a daughter who's only 10, she plays around here for little kids.
So what's the solution? This police crime commissioner has an idea.
I would like to think that we have clinics, pharmacies perhaps, where drug users can go and actually inject there under supervision and dispose of the needles cleanly. That is something I would really wish to see, and we'll work hard to achieve that.
It's not pleasant for those who find them or for the people who have to take them away. Some hope the idea of having designated areas for drug users could solve the problem.
Well, Jonathan's with me now. Jonathan, does this figure of 2,500 actually reveal the true extent of the syringe problem?
We think it could be a lot higher. For example, councils like Hartlepool didn't provide any figures because they just don't register them. And also, some councils just gave back some stats saying the amount of call-outs they'd had, not the amount of needles that they found once they got there. So we do think that the figure could be higher. So, of course, it's particularly unpleasant if they're behind your house or where your children play. So
what can be done ultimately to rid the streets of these discarded syringes then?
Well, Ron Hogg has got this idea, the police commissioner, of this idea of having places around County Durham where people can go and take the drugs that would keep the needles off the streets. However, it's just a pilot scheme at the moment. There is one running. He'd like them spread throughout the area over the next 12 to 18 months. He says it's possible. There will be some controversy over it. There is a conference in Durham next month. It will cause a lot of chatter, I imagine, people discussing our idea.
Jonathan.
That would be lovely. Yes, welcome to Rowlands Gill. Welcome to this hall. It might not look much out here, but let's take a wander down this corridor. And here you will discover the set of the dumping ground. Now, my children and many others watching will recognise these scenes. There's a few boxes and things because it's not filming at the moment, but filming will start later on this year. And as we get around this corner, again, it will look familiar to a lot of children. The actor Clive Mantle had been appearing at the Theatre Royal in the town in March last year. The 56-year-old, of course, is best known for his role as Mike Barrett in Casualty. He'd been staying at the Travel Lodge just down the road from where we are now. He'd woken up at 4:30 in the morning, heard quite a loud noise in the corridor outside. He says he politely told 33-year-old Philip McGildry and 32-year-old Alan French to be quiet. The pair had been drinking heavily. What happened next resulted in him being on the ground and then having part of his ear bitten off, which is now permanently disfigured. Now is George Muirhead, the manager here. So this could be the last time we ever see them all together?
Absolutely. I don't think we'll see it again in our lifetime.
An amazing place in terms of visitor numbers. Are you surprised?
The visitor numbers have exceeded our expectations, yes.
And so how many have we had over the last few days?
By the end of today, we've had over 70,000 visitors.
Your prediction was far less, wasn't it?
We predicted 68,000 for the 9 days, so we've already exceeded the target.
And how are the staff? They must be quite tired.
Aching feet, sore legs, but everybody's really enjoying it.
So you've got struggled with alcohol addiction. In March, she was caught drink driving after having a few in the afternoon, then later driving to a garage to buy more. Luckily, nobody was hurt.
That one instant can ruin so many lives, and it's just not worth it. It could be your family, it could have been one of my own, and no, just not worth it.
This man from Teesside was attacked by his wife over a 10-year period. James, not his real name, says there is very little help available. His words are spoken by someone else.
It started pretty early in the marriage with more verbal abuse, sort of emotional abuse later on, and then after the years it become more threatening, not physical but threatening physical violence. Then it progressed on to actual physical violence. If I was a woman looking for some sort of assistance, there are so many institutions where a female can just walk in, and I don't want to play down the plight of female victims, but there is so much support for them than for a man.
The High Ropes at Beamish Wild in County Durham attracts a lot of visitors during half-term. The power fan is at the end of the course. You jump off a ledge 40 feet to the ground. But a squirrel chomped through part of the mechanism, causing £2,000 worth of damage. How do you feel about the squirrel?
Yeah, I'm not particularly too happy with them at the minute. We have got a lot of squirrels on site. I know there's a lot of controversy about grey and red squirrels and how they're taken over a little bit. Yeah, they can leave.
So, the culprit is somewhere around here. Maybe there's more than one of them. It couldn't have happened at a worse time, because at half-term, this is their busiest period. It might be hard to catch the perpetrator. The staff would like to have a word with the delinquent mammal.
I think I've got him. I've definitely got him, yeah. But I think we're going to call him Ridley.
A man had to travel 7 hours to come and replace the part, but now it's all sorted.
Well, as we heard there in Nick's report, the Prince has been serving in various parts of southern Afghanistan, and a short while ago, the BBC's Jonathan Swingler, who's on a British Army base in Helmand province, described the reaction to today's news.
People have known about this for some time here. I think a number of press officers and a number of soldiers no doubt would have seen him. And I think people here are unimpressed by the way in which it's come out. And as one person has said, at the end of the day, he's just another soldier. And there's the bigger story here of people have to deal with things like this on a day-to-day basis. So he's out at the forward operating bases where I've been. Their targets are just a few miles away.
CP number 2.
Alan Bridges is looking forward to soon returning to see family and friends in County Durham. But for the time being, his mind is on the Taliban. The conditions here are incredibly difficult. The heat alone can be a nightmare. Now, 6 miles away are the Taliban positions, but somehow the soldiers here are coping incredibly well. This is really eerie. It's the strangest thing about flying to Afghanistan. Then the last few minutes of the flight, they turn all the lights off until we get safely to Kandahar Air Base.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kandahar. Please remain in your seat with your seatbelt fastened and your helmet and body armour on. Thank you.
Most troops quickly move on to here, Helmand Province. Soldiers from our region are training the ANA, the Afghan National Army.
I miss my mum's voice. I get to speak to her on the phone, but I just want to see her and interact, do stuff with her like I usually do. It's sort of the only thing I missed about him is sort of seeing my family.
Mark Malone is based here at Camp Bastion. He's missing his son, who's currently further out in Helmand on an operation. And he's constantly thinking about his family back in Catterick.
It's difficult for obviously because we're both out here, especially back there as well. At Christmas time, obviously, this time there'll be 2 empty seats at the table, and obviously we're out here, so it'll be a quiet one for her this year. But I bought her 2 dogs, obviously you've seen before, so they'll keep her busy. I believe they're pulling down the Christmas tree as we speak.
It's believed the reconnaissance mission was launched from this small island. These days it's a popular trip out for German tourists. When the Germans got to this point, they knew they were safe. Any concerns about the operation had faded. Vice Admiral Hipper was pleased. Other sailors' letters and diaries home give us an insight into how they were feeling.
Länder haben mit ihrer Flotte die deutsche Küste forciert. Wir sind's gewesen, die die ersten Granaten ins Land geschmissen. It wasn't the British who attacked the German coast. It was us who chucked the first grenades into the country, despite the superior fleet, which was unable to keep hostile forces away from their own country.
Meet Vera Robinson. She's now 100 years old. She was 4 when she was walking with her mum and saw John Allen's plane crash.
And I said that some mother's boy has come down in the lane. Because there would be a proper funeral in the cemetery for him.
Since then, she's left flowers at his grave in the town. Vera has stayed in touch with the family. John Allen's mother travelled to Redcar to thank Vera's family. She gave her £5.
And that was an awful lot of money in those days. An awful lot of money.
John Allen was engaged to Hazel. He was obviously well liked by his fiancée's father, who wrote a poem about him.
Upon his far-off grave many violets bloom, the flower he loved and cherished here on earth. While our fond tears bedew his earthly tomb, we'll leave the rest to God, who knew his worth.
After storm damage, the grave was in a sorry state. A few months ago, for the first time, these family members travelled from New Zealand to pay their respects.
It's quite moving to come here and to finally see his final resting place. It's something we always felt we had to do, and because he was so special to the family and to the community, obviously he is very well respected in the community, and of course he must have had a tremendous adventurous spirit to be the first pilot from out of our part of Canterbury.
Men like John Allen were the forebearers of the modern-day Air Force. A century later, trainee fighter pilots at RAF Leeming are learning in very different aircraft.
I think the World War I pilots were phenomenally brave. They were pioneering aviation as it is today. To fly the aircraft, knowing the risks that were involved and against very competent enemies.
John Allen was one of many young men from the Commonwealth who came to our region to help in a war effort thousands of miles from their homes. 100 years on, and he's not forgotten. And in the last week, his grave has been restored. Jonathan Swingler, BBC Look North, Redcar.